Hello and a big welcome back to the Wee Larder channel. Today we're going to make a delicious treacle tart. This recipe is so good, and my husband's granny used to make a really nice version of this, and it's a really nice traditional old recipe. I'm not sure if it originates in Scotland, it might be English, but it's a real family favourite of ours and of generations before as well. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. It's so easy to make. I would recommend using your own pastry if you do have. If you don't, just buy some pre-rolled short crust pastry for this recipe. And as you can see from the ingredients in a minute, there are not many ingredients in this recipe, but it is so delicious. So let's get started on our delicious treacle tart recipe. So for this lovely treacle tart, we're going to need these ingredients here, and there's not many ingredients. This is a really easy recipe, but it's really delicious. So we're going to start by greasing up our tart dish there. So I've used like a medium-sized dish. If you want to use a bigger dish, I would maybe double up on the filling ingredients for a larger treacle tart. But this fed a family of 6, so for pudding, so it was good enough for us. So we're just going to make sure that all the nooks and crannies of our dish are buttered up nicely. We're also going to preheat the oven as well to 160. That's a fan oven as well. So I have a bit of my own homemade short crust pastry here that I'm just going to roll out. You can get a recipe for short crust on Google. There's so many of them. If you don't want to make your own short crust pastry, feel free to just buy your own pre-made pastry for this recipe. It really doesn't matter, but I would recommend using your own homemade if you can, because obviously there's less ingredients and it's always that little bit more tastier, I find. So we're just going to roll that out flat and press it into our tart dish, and we're just going to trim the edges as well and just make sure we've got no cracks, so that our filling stays intact. So just press it into the sides gently, and into the edges there, and just use a butter knife or something just to trim the pastry off there. So just go around your whole dish and make sure that all the pastry is right up to the top of the dish as well. So if there's any bits that are a little short, just pop on a wee extra piece there like I've done there, and we're just going to flatten that all down so it's level with the top of the dish. So we've got our pastry ready. Now sometimes you can, in some recipes you can bake them blind, which means you add the beans in the paper and bake it for 10 minutes before. I've not bothered doing that for this recipe. So we're going to whisk up our eggs in our cup there. We're then going to add in our vanilla. As you see, I don't really measure that much. I would measure if you want to, if you're not used to just sort of knowing what the quantities are of things. So we've got our butter there, which we're going to melt in the pan. I had a couple of herbs in there because I was using it for another recipe as well. So we're going to add our golden syrup into our pan. So we're going to want to melt our golden syrup with our butter in the pan there. This recipe is so easy to make. We're just going to add in our butter there, and we're going to just heat it up. Like a medium heat is what we're looking for. And we're just going to melt it down on a medium heat for a minute or so until it is like this, mixed in with our golden syrup. And I absolutely love the smell of this in the kitchen. It reminds me of my childhood. My mum must have blended syrup and butter together quite often to make all her delicious treats when we were growing up. So we take that off, leave it to cool for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to pour in our whisked egg, and we're just going to whisk that through together really well. So you want to make sure your eggs are whisked really well in the cup before you add them into here too. And obviously you can use a fork, don't use a spoon like I'm using here. I'm just trying to save on washing the dishes. So once we've got this really well combined, now you want this really well combined, so you don't have like eggy bits in your tart. So just keep whisking, use a big whisk if you've got one, and combine it really well. It's such a lovely color as well. I just love this recipe. It's so simple. So we're just going to pour that into our wee pastry case there, and we're going to pop it into the oven for approximately 25 to 30 minutes. Keep an eye around the 20 mark just to make sure it's not burning. But around about 25 minutes was perfect for this. So we're just going to pop it into the oven there. And there we have our delicious cooked treacle tart. Now it does sink down a little bit. Mine was all puffed up when I took it out of the oven. So I'm just popping that onto a pan rest there. I should have done that when I took it out of the oven to begin with. Never mind. And you can see this is about 10-15 minutes later, and it has cooled a lot, and I would maybe leave it just that time so that it does cool before slicing it. Otherwise it's going to be all puffed up. You want it to kind of sink down a little bit. It reminds me of like a French tart, this recipe. It's so delicious and so simple to make. But the kids really enjoyed it. And you can see you have it's quite tricky getting the first one out, but you can see you have your lovely filling has completely set, and it's very custard like. It's so lovely, and you can serve it up with even more hot custard or some whipped cream. I like serving it up with whipped cream, but it is actually really delicious on its own. So it's entirely up to you what you want to do for this recipe. And it's also nice hot or cold. It doesn't have to be served hot. It's really nice cold as well. I've just added a wee drizzle of golden syrup on the top there as well, just to serve, and you can see it looks super delicious. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed making that delicious treacle tart recipe. I'm sure you'll agree it is so nice. My kids absolutely loved it. There was not a drop left in the dish that evening. We served it with cream, but you could also serve it with custard as well if you wanted to. It's quite nice served cold with custard actually, for some reason. And you can also get this recipe over on the Canny Crofter Patreon membership, which has all of my future recipes from YouTube, Instagram and my website over there in one collection. So it's a really nice easy place to print them out and save them to your phone as well. If you're over on Instagram, pop over, give us a follow, say hello, love to hear where you're from, etc. And thanks for watching my video. If you did enjoy this video, please feel free to give it a big thumbs up, and if you subscribe and click the bell next to it, I will see you guys again soon. So take care, lots of love, bye bye.